The 604th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Fourth Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their brand new Pick 8. Sign up today with promo code MMA SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMA SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks with Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Howdy ho, degenerinos, and welcome to the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, episode 604. This goes out to Goofier Deer, one of our friends in the Discord, who is part of a passionate debate over about Drew Dober versus Gian Silva. That's the type of thing we debate in our Discord. If you're into that type of thing, then get in our Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. And of course, this is dedicated to everyone who has subscribed and will, after I say this, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribers are going up ever since we started saying it right at the top of the show. It's you people are easily led astray. So yes, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Thank you for coming to the show. I'm one of your hosts this here episode, pretty much every episode, not all, but almost every. The almighty Supreme Leader Jeff Fox, and we've got another regional event. Actually, three more regional episodes coming up before we hit the UFC proper again this coming Wednesday. This is actually a PFL spin-off event that is causing some debate amongst me and my co-host about how we should pronounce it. And this show, if it's about one thing, it's about two things. It's about grandparents and how many fingers they have, and it's about pronunciations. And this is another one of our pronunciation debates. So I'll bring in the expert on pronunciations, the self-proclaimed expert, Daniel Gumby-Vreeland, for this one. What's this event called?
So I'm usually better at pronunciations of names, although I will admit I think I'm going to struggle on a couple of these. The Middle Eastern, Jordanian names particularly tend to be a little tricky. And yeah, is it PFL MENA? I want to say MENA, but I don't. It could be MENA. I don't know. Am I supposed to spell it? Is it like ESPN?
Yeah, I know. That's a thing. And I looked it up. MENA is a thing. Middle East and North Africa. So that's the actual region that we're talking about here. It's also referred to as WANA, West Asia and North Africa, or SWANA, Southwest Asia and North Africa. I wish they went with SWANA. That's more fun.
Yeah, SWANA sounds more fun for an episode, but maybe PFL will add another offshoot brand because they clearly don't have enough of them yet. PFL Africa coming up, PFL Europe. I think it's in the middle of PFL Europe right now. I don't know how deep we're in PFL MENA. I know this is PFL MENA too, but I guess we're going with MENA, by the way. I just said it twice.
Yes, so you just said it twice.
So PFL MENA 2, I assume we're like well into this season. I don't know enough about the season. I do know enough about the fighters, but I don't know enough about the season.
It's obviously that region of the world. They're running a tournament. It's like the European one that they do. And actually some of those fighters have gone from the European one to the PFL proper, like the It Girl, right? Dakota Dicheva started off on that. And this one is it's a tournament, $100,000 to the winner. So it's basically, it's the same as the European one. Do you like that they're doing these spin-off ones, or are you not interested in it?
I do. I liked it a lot better before they bought Bellator, if I'm being completely honest. Because at first it seemed like, like the first few seasons of PFL, we were getting a lot of recycled matchups, a lot of the same fighters. Then they started that PFL Challenger series, and it seemed like everybody was damn near an amateur on that show. And I was like, I don't know if this is how you're going to find the new talent. Then when they started all of these tournaments, it was like, oh, if you take like 3 tournament winners, because Africa is supposed to have a season coming up, right? If you took like an Africa season, a MENA season, and a Europe season, and you took all those winners and you cycled out like the 3 lowest scores, it's basically like a relegation system.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah, and then by that measure too, you could add a Northern American one too. And then you just take like the 4 worst fighters on every season and you cycle them down and they have to fight in the tournament otherwise. And it's not like these guys are fighting for peanuts either. Like a regional card with, the possibility of earning $100,000 in a year is a pretty decent proposition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like even if you got cycled down, I don't think you'd want to necessarily bail out of that contract unless you thought the UFC or Bellator were picking you up. And if you're, one of the worst 4 fighters on the season, you'd kind of be lucky at that. But now that Bellator's there, I don't know. Their talent pool just seems deep enough. Like they had a guy pull out of the heavyweight tournament, and instantly Tim Johnson was in there. Won violently, is in the actual tournament. So like, if you got Tim Johnson as like a last second backup, do you need like these other tournaments to find your talent?
Well, this is more as I adjust my camera.
Like,
sorry everyone. I'm all over the place. It's not a earthquake. We don't really get those here. But this is more for newer talent, though. Is it like younger talent? Is it not?
I don't know. A lot of these guys got long records, man.
That's true.
Like, I know,
25
like,
fights for the guy in the main event. So yeah.
Yeah, and against top flight competition too, if we're being honest. So I don't know, man. I think maybe that's the general idea is the new talent, but I don't know about the execution. But we will bet on it and make money. So
exactly. No, it's not saying the fights won't be good or the betting won't be good. It's maybe the execution of it or the structure of it may be flawed. But I guess if you're not the UFC, just why not? Yep, exactly. Try new stuff. Throw all you can against the wall and see what happens. So. All right, before we jump into the actual making the picks, let me tell you that the latest episode of SGP Stories is out on our Patreon, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. And the guys do a forensic files style deep dive on Bobby Petrino's motorcycle accident that cost him his job. Plus, make sure to check out the WNBA gambling podcast, as Terrell and Scott have started out red hot with their locks, as have I, but I'm not on their show. So check that out on YouTube or podcast catcher of choice. Have you ever lost a job because of a motorcycle accident, Dan?
I've never driven a motorcycle. As a small child, my dad used to drive his Harley with me on the back. But
fun.
Yeah.
Down the big mountainside?
Yeah, like anywhere. He'd rather take that than trucks. So we drove a Harley a lot of places when I was a kid.
Nice. Another wrinkle of Gummy's childhood coming through. We used to hear those every week. Now we actually talk about MMA. So there's a trade-off, I guess. Excuse me. All right. We are going back to Saudi Arabia. Oh, joy, right? Riyadh again. This is PFL MENA 2 Riyadh. It is taking place in the Green Halls in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Have you ever been there, Gumby?
I have not. No, I have not.
Not surprised. All right, this is a 10-fight card. We're going to do a in-depth breakdown of the top 5 fights of the night. And then I'm assuming lightning is going to strike after that, right?
Yeah, I got a couple of lightning round picks this time.
Alrighty, let's jump into it then. This is the lightweights and welterweight part of the tournament that we're running here. I guess all these people, this is their first tournament fight because I don't think they fought on week 1 of this year's show. All right, but Gumby and I don't know a heck of a lot about it. That's what kind of host you have today. All right, this is a lightweight fight. Starting off, Ahmed Amir. We're gonna have lots of different countries too, which is fun. He is from Egypt. He is fighting Souhil Tairi. He is from France, and this is, as I said, lightweight. 3 5-minute rounds for all of these fights. No odds yet, but you can. I've seen these odds posted for the first version of PFL MENA, so I'm sure they'll be easy to get once the tournament runs around. Oh, did I tell you when it runs? It runs on the 12th of July, so a week from today. A week from. Not a week, less than a week. It's Sunday already. So yes, it will be running this coming Friday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. So that's what you have to make sure you jump in and watch the fight and get in the Discord. Okay, we're going to tell you about Tairi first as I stumble my way through this episode. He is 6-4-1, 3 knockouts, 3 submissions. So he's finished everyone. He's been knocked out once, submitted twice. So he owes his rounds pretty much. This is his PFL debut. Loss win over his last 4. Won his last fight via TKO. Used to fight at welterweight and he's 2 inches taller than Amir. Amir is the butcher. 12-4-1, 2 knockouts, 7 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. 0-1 in PFL. He's won 3 of his last 4, but he did lose his last fight. That was back in April of 2023. He's not won a fight since September of 2021. He's got welterweight championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. I assume they have mantles in Lebanon, more than likely. Used to fight at welterweight and middleweight. 2011 pro MMA debut. 0-1 as a pro grappler. Now I send it over to the man who's going to make us the winning picks.
Yeah, so I think Amir's just based on the record here going to be a pretty large favorite. Let's say negative 250. And I'm going to take him in this one. The big difference for me is so both of these guys kind of suffer in their takedown defense. Like if you've watched any of their losses, they've kind of come via not being able to stuff the takedown, not being able to get up necessarily when they do get taken down. But I think the big difference for me in this one, if it does wind up that way, is Amir can scramble a little bit. Like, I really like the way that it's not necessarily switches, but he gets his hips out of there and is ready to bounce back a little bit quicker. He also doesn't let himself get settled in on, like he's moving a lot before he settles in. So if this does wind up in a grappling match, like I think Amir will wind up with the top positions and wind up winning it. And then from a striking perspective, I think Amir, he uses like a low leg kick regularly to sort of set up his blitzes. And I think he looks really good when he is blitzing. And Tairi just like maybe just doesn't have the confidence he needs to let go more than a couple of punches at a time. I think that's really going to wind up with his back up against the cage, especially after he eats a bunch of kicks from Amir. And gonna make it really hard for him to get any offense going, especially any offensive grappling if he knows that that's what Amir is weak at, but he keeps backing up against the cage and eating leg kicks. I don't think that'll be all that easy for him. So I'm going to go with Amir here. I think he'll probably be, like I said, a negative 250 favorite. But I still think probably the smart play here.
All right. Minus 250 it is. Hopefully he gets us some dogs, but hey, you got to pick winners. All right. We're going to a welterweight fight. A lightweight fight still. Josh Togo. Sadly, he's not from Togo. He's from Lebanon. Lebanon has a good flag though, with the tree in the middle of it, which I like. Mohsen Mohammadseifi is who he's fighting. He is from Iran. So like I said, I promised you lots of different countries, and we're getting lots of countries in the MENA region. All right, let's tell you about Mohammadseifi first. 4-2 with 3 knockouts. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. This is his debut. He's won 4 straight fights. He's not lost a fight since June of 2019, and he owes his rounds as well. Togo, 13-5 with 2 no contests. He's knocked out 4 people. He's been knocked out once, submitted 3 times. I think I'm having a stroke because apparently I can't talk. Anyhow, I'm gonna power through it. This is his debut in PFL as well. 1-1 with 1 no contest over his last 3. He did win his last fight. Multi-region championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. Get sticky with it. I can say that still at least. Used to fight at welterweight. 2 years younger than Mohammadseifi and 2 inches taller.
So I think Togo's going to come in here as the favorite. Let's say negative 225. I'm like a plus 200 return for Mohammadseifi. I think Seifi's going to be the dog just because of that record. You said 4-2, correct? If I'm remembering right.
Correct.
Yeah, 4-2 record for him, but it's 4 wins in a row. He lost his first 2 fights, and it's worth noting that one of them was in China against Rong Zhu, which is not necessarily a bad loss for a regional guy like this. And I think he will probably unfairly be the underdog. I think maybe even you see some money come in on him. You're probably going to want that opening line because I'm going to go with Mohammadseifi here.
All right.
I think couple of things bode really well for me here with him. The number one is he's an Iranian wrestler and like he's a stockier guy. You know, you'll notice with Togo, long karate stance, looking for the kicks, that kind of thing. And you're going to get like a stocky wrestler type against Mohammadseifi. And he's, you know, got an Iranian wrestling background. Like you have to like that because that's one of those countries that continuously produces high level wrestlers no matter what the weight class. And then in addition to that, I really do like the way he pieces combinations together. So while Togo has that like rangy karate style and is probably going to be like the more well-versed actual striker in terms of his like technique, so Mohammadseifi puts together like 4 punch combinations that are all like tight and powerful hooks. And he does so while like closing the distance very well, especially for a shorter, stockier, strong guy. I don't have any worries about his cardio really. So like, even though he's going to be, you know, like the guy kind of outmatched if this were to just be a kickboxing fight, I think the fact that he is going to be able to crowd Togo, Togo isn't going to necessarily want to like step forward and counter that because that might wind up in a takedown here from Mohammadseifi. I think it's a weird style matchup for Togo, but ultimately I think it favors what I assume will be a sizable underdog in Mohammadseifi. So I'm going to take a little roll of the dice on him.
How sizable are we talking?
I said plus 200 at the start. Of course, you weren't listening, but like,
I'm always preparing for the next thing.
Yeah. But
sure.
Mohammadseifi, I'm guessing like a negative 225 to plus 200 line here.
Fantastic. Because these Iranians can wrestle. Just look at the Iron Sheik. What a wrestler he was. Mohammadseifi needs to wear the pointed boots and needs to get the handlebar mustache, and then he'll be all set. I guess he can't wear boots like that in MMA.
Not anymore.
Yes, that's right. You used to get to wear those.
Actually, ask the Fight Circus folk.
That's true. You could wear it. All right, before we move on, we picked an underdog, and that lends us right into the ad read for Underdog Fantasy. Pick 8 is now live on Underdog Fantasy. You can create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries, so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. The best part, you can win up to 325 times your original amount. You can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. Gumby, do you have a pick for us?
Sure. And so first of all, I just want to toot my own horn here because I said in the last 2 episodes, I said take the higher on Chris Sale's strikeouts, and he wound up striking out 9, which was over the 8.5 projection. And then I also said to take the higher on Brian Reynolds' total bases, and he had a dinger, which is obviously more than 1.5 total bases. So we're going to stick with some batters here. I think Austin Riley's finally getting hot. So Sunday night, it's a Sunday afternoon game. Let's take Austin Riley's higher than on his 1.5 bases.
All right. He's a homer, but that's okay. Don't miss your chance to try out Pick 8 before it's gone and before Austin Riley gets a hit. So sign up with MMA SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Underdogfantasy.com, promo code MMA SGPN. All right. We are moving on to...
Do you need to move on right away?
No, I do need to move on to Circus Sports is what I need to move on to. Thank you, Gumby. Good job. You caught me finally. Circus Sports is back with Circus Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Of course, Circa contests have no rake. Circa Millions, you pick 5 NFL teams that gets the spread each week and compete for $6 million, or you can survive the NFL Gauntlet to claim the $10 million prize. Sign up in person at Circus Sports between now and September 7th and use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with promo code SGP. Don't have a trip booked for Las Vegas yet before football? Ultimate Contest Weekend is a great time to go out, hang with our bosses, Ryan and Sean, tell them how great we are, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sportsbook in the world, August 22nd through the 24th. Then you can get back in time for my son's birthday on the 25th and have a big party at my house. Perfect. Now I'm going to move on. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right, boss. We're going to welterweights now. Mohammed Alaqraa. How do you say his name, Gumby? Alaqraa.
This is the one I was worried about. Alaqraa.
Alaqraa sounds good. He's from Kuwait. I don't know how to. We don't say too many Kuwaiti names around on this year's show. Youcef Ouabbas from France. This is 3 5 rounds, 170 pounds. Ouabbas, Ouabbas for those keeping track at home. He's 3-0 with 2 knockouts. This is his PFL debut. He's won 2 straight fights via TKO or knockout. He's not fought since May of 2022. He's 1-0 in Bellator. Used to fight at middleweight, 4 inches taller than Alaqraa. 5-0, 1 knockout, 1 submission. This is his debut as well. He's not fought since March of 2023, so both guys have some cobwebs to knock off here. 2 years younger than Ouabbas.
So I think Alaqraa is going to be the slight favorite here. We're talking about, a 5-0 versus a 3-0, a couple years younger. All those things kind of bode well for Alaqraa. So, but I'm not going to say by much because it's not like Ouabbas has looked all that bad either. So we'll say like negative 145 on Alaqraa and plus 125 on Ouabbas. And I'm going to go with Ouabbas on this one. There's 2 things I like about him in this fight, particularly. The first one is the size discrepancy. So he's 6'3", Alaqraa only 5'11". And if you watch the ways they fight, I think that winds up being pretty darn important here because, Alaqraa is a guy who, if you've watched him fight, I think his clinch game, exceptional. Like when he gets you in the clinch and he's throwing knees, very good. If he gets you on the ground, his jiu-jitsu, also very good. His striking leaves a lot to be desired. Like, I think that's the weakest part of his game, and it's not close. And Ouabbas is he's kind of rangy. He works good from distance. He's 6'3", and he uses that length, which is a big middleweight. And he's also wrestles a little bit. So, like, if you're talking about the worst nightmare for a guy who needs you on the ground or needs you in the clinch, talk about fighting a rangy guy who can defend a takedown, right? Like that's probably his worst kind of nightmare. And then in addition to that too, Ouabbas is got really good power. Like if you watch, like you said, he's 3-0, 2 of them being knockouts. If you've watched those knockouts, man, it doesn't even look like he hit the guy flush on one of them, and the guy is just out. Like he's got crazy big power. So if he lands one flush on him here, Alakra's gonna have to try to close the distance because he needs his jiu-jitsu, or he needs his Muay Thai plum, or he needs like that kind of thing. If he tries to close the distance just a little bit too carelessly, or if he's striking and he doesn't defend himself well, I think it only takes one from Ouabbas. So I'll take another swing on what I perceive will be an underdog here. Ouabbas, I guessed plus 25.
All right. Sounds good to me. Let's go to our co-main event. This is at welterweight as well. We're finishing up 3 straight welterweight fights here. Badreddine Diani, he is from Morocco. Amir Fazli from Iran, 3 5-minute rounds. The Iranian Fazli is the Prince, 6-1, 4 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been submitted 1 time. He owes his rounds pretty much. This is his PFL debut. He's won 4 straight fights. He's not lost since November 2019. He's not fought since April 2023. Was regional champion and used to fight at middleweight. Diani, 7-3, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. This is his PFL debut as well. 3-1 over his last 4, including winning his last fight via submission. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get shirts, sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. Used to fight at middleweight. 2 years younger than the Prince, Fazli.
Yeah, I think Fazli is going to be the favorite. I think there's just like a little bit more hype behind him. I think his recent results will certainly tilt that. I'm going to say let's say minus 175, like plus 150 on the return for Diani. And I'm going to go with a 3rd straight underdog here, or at least, again, these are all projected odds. We don't necessarily know, but based on what I'm hearing from, the bookmaking and the public and whatnot, I think that's where it's going to land. And I like Diani. I mean, I don't like him a ton here because one thing I will say is when he gets rushed with strikes, he flails a little bit. Those guys who, when somebody gets close to him and they're throwing big bombs, they look like they want to punch back, but they don't put any of the actual effort behind what like a good punch takes. He kind of does that a lot, but I think luckily for him here, Fazli is not a guy who does a really good job of like putting the pressure on and closing the distance. He's more of a like feel it out kind of guy. I will also say Fazli kind of has like a not so, I'm trying to think of the word I want to use here. His maybe some stolen valor in terms of the hype behind him, because 1.5 of his finishes are the craziest finishes I've ever seen because they weren't finishes. Like I watched one and I was like still trying. I rewound it at least 3 or 4 times to try to figure out why the ref stopped it. He landed like 1 punch. His opponent stumbled a little bit. He had been losing the 3 minutes prior, and the ref stepped in and waved it off. The ref had to have money on Fazli. That's the only. It's the only reason I could come up with after watching it over and over again, because it was a wild stoppage. But I think like Diani, first of all, can handle all of that, and also I think Diani can wrestle a little bit if he needs to here. Like if Fazli does put that pressure on, which seems to be the only time Diani is not terribly good, is when that pressure's on and he's sort of having to fight his way out of a corner. I think he can also just like clash into the clinch and wind up scoring a takedown that way. His wrestling is definitely better than Fazli's. I think maybe even too, if you're just talking about their striking and if it does stay at range and Fazli doesn't turn up that pressure, Diani's going to be the cleaner of the 2 strikers. I mean, I like how he throws the 1-2. He mixes up the different levels. He throws to the body. There's lots to like for Diani here. So I'm going to say, despite maybe not having as clean of a record as Fazli, I like Diani in this one.
All right. He's going against the Prince. Diani's the pick. All right. Before you wrap things up with the main event and lightning round, let's tell you about Rhythm. If you're betting on player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is a go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter, data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions. Rhythm projections have been red hot for WNBA and golf. So check it all out. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpockets.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And our subscribers are going up as I talk, Gumby. So somehow people in the future have seen this and gone back in the past and subscribed to us. So, all right, main event time. This is a welterweight fight, as I said or before last fight. The first combatant is Jarrah Hussein Al-Silawi. He's from Jordan. He is up against Bashar Tairi from Iraq. We haven't had an Iraqi yet. I don't know if we've ever had an Iraqi that we've talked about. This is 3 5-minute rounds at 178 pounds. Thayer, Thaer. He's 4-2 with 1 knockout, 2 submissions. He's been submitted twice. He owes his rounds. This is his debut. He's won 3 straight fights, 2 straight via finish. Has not lost a fight since September 2019. Used to fight at heavyweight and middleweight. So all the way down at welterweight now. Al-Silawi, the Jordanian Lion, 19-6, 7 knockouts, 5 submissions. He's been knocked out 4 times, 2-3 in PFL. He's won 1 of his last 4, including winning his last fight. He used to fight at middleweight. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Shirt, sportsgamblingpockets.com. /store. Sorry, get sticky with it. And 2013 was his pro MMA debut. He's got an inch height on Thayer. This is kind of a guy who got relegated, right? He was in PFL proper, and now
we were talking about possible having relegation earlier on. I guess he kind of did. Although I gotta say, he had a rough go of it in terms of the people who he fought. Like, he fought Umalatov, he fought Sidabusai, he fought I guess the easiest fight was Solomon Renfro, which is like, man, that being your easiest fight is a hell of a time in PFL. And he looked good in some of those fights, at least in moments. Dude, he's going to be a massive favorite here. I actually, when I saw that this fight was the main event, I went and looked and did my best to dig and see if Thayer was a late replacement, because this doesn't make any sense. Like this should be -700 or 800. And I looked and he's not. This is just the fight they booked. I think they want Al-Silawi to kind of be like the face of PFL MENA. And I get it. He's really fun to watch. He's got really good kickboxing. He's got really good takedown defense. And I say really good takedown defense being sort of relative. Obviously fighting Umalatov, maybe not so great. But for what he's fighting now, it looks good. And actually, you know what? If you want to talk about him against good level of competition, obviously Umalatov, really high level competition, but he also fought and beat Ismail Nardiev. Remember Ismail Nardiev from the UFC? Yeah. Like, I thought Nardiev was like gonna be a top talent in the UFC. I thought he had tons of potential. He kind of reminded me of like Arman Sarukian at the very early part of him, like fun wrestler, but also had kind of like the striking chops. Also, why handled him, stuffed all his takedowns, beat him on the feet, leg kicked him a whole bunch. Like, it was really impressive. So, like, he's got a really good kickboxing game. He's going to stuff all the takedowns. I mean, if you're looking at Thayer, like, he's fought almost exclusively nobodies. Hasn't even looked really good doing it. The last fight was a no contest, you said?
Yeah, I think does he not have a bunch that are... Yeah, go ahead.
So that one is also record ineligible. Because
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
I think, so it is a no contest, but it's also record ineligible because I think the guy was like an 0-0. It was like a weird fat guy that he fought. I think I watched this one.
It was heavyweight too, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like a weird chunky guy. And after like not kind of liking what he saw on the feet, he like took him down and right into side control and then immediately kneed him in the side of the head. It was kind of bizarre. So he's fought the lowest of low competition. He's never going to score a takedown on Al-Silawi. And if he needed the takedown against those guys, he doesn't stand a chance against Al-Silawi. So like -700, -800, the line will get bet up. -1200 by fight time. Give me Al-Silawi.
Gummy came through right at the buzzer with the title of the episode, a weird chunky guy. He came through for me.
Weird chunky. You got to question the talent level on the Iraqi regional scene in MMA, right? It's Tapology is, so I don't have to.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He should have 5 more fights on his record, but they to think they were something fishy going on with those other fights. So he's really fought 11 times, but they were weird chunky guys who used knee in the side of the head in those other fights. All right, let's recap quickly. Sorry, you said these odds were going to be what, in the -1000s range?
Probably short of that to post, like probably 700, -700, -600 to post. And then, by fight time, we're talking, -1000, -1200.
All right. But he got you lots of dogs outside of that. So don't be mad at Gumpy. Al-Silawi, Diani, Ouabbas sounds better. Mohammadseifi and Amir. There are your picks. Get your money down on those people now. All right. Before we leave, we got a lightning round, crash, bang, boom. It looks kind of stormy again here. Last time we did a lightning round, it rained. So we'll see if we bring the rain here, Gumby. We got 5 more fights on the card that you can choose from. Gumby, anything interest you?
Yeah, I got 2 more that I like. Anthony Zidane is Zidane is going to be on the prelims here. He's super powerful. I really like his knockout power, both from his time as a professional and also from what I've seen of him as an amateur. So I think he's probably got a good chance to win. He might be a sizable favorite, though, based on the fact that like some of his early wins are kind of like big highlights. So sometimes that scares the books off. But if you can get a reasonable number on him, I kind of like him. And then the other one is a fun name to say, Omar Reguigui. Which you're gonna
that is fun.
Yeah,
try Omar Reguigui. Okay, go ahead.
Reguigui. He's from Tunisia. Very fun striker. One of those guys with like an infinite level of different like striking. Like he's got a whole bunch of different striking competitions under his belt, like Taekwondo or combat karate or all kinds of different striking arts. And it's really creative and fun when he gets into the MMA cage with it. I think maybe he even walks into this one as a dog. And with the power and the craftiness he has on the feet, I think there's a good chance that he pulls this one out. So I like Omar Reguigui and Anthony Zidane.
Nice. Zidane. All right. There are your picks for PFL MENA. Hopefully it is fun to watch. Oh, how do you watch this show? Oh, it's all over the place. That's right. It's on DAZN in the States. I think it is in Canada too, Boo. But we'll figure it out how to watch it. Get in the Discord if you want to watch it and talk with us, and we'll have lots of fun discussing PFL MENA. That is July the 12th, so just a few days from now. This coming Friday, 11:30 a.m. All right, in the meantime, we shall be in the Discord, of course. Probably talk about Drew Dober versus Gian Silva. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store to get all your cool clothing, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon to help us keep the lights on here. What else can you do? You can obviously check us out on Twitter as well, SGPN MMA. He's at Gumby Breland. I'm a Jeff Fox writer. Where else can you check us out? You can check me out at my Substack, moneymma.substack.com. Check out all my writing there and enter my weekly UFC pick'em contest for free. Check out Gumby's Top Turtle MMA podcast. He's deep into his coverage of the upcoming Dana White Contender Series. Lots of interesting people on his show there. So check that out. Lots of interesting interviews with upcoming fighters on Contender Series. And of course, sportsgamblingpodcast.com is the place to go for all of our writing needs. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this here podcast on YouTube. Sound good? We'll be back tomorrow. A couple more regional events tomorrow and Tuesday, and then UFC is back in our coverage on Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow. The Prince, Jeff Fox, the Jordanian Lion, Gumby Vreeland. We'll talk to you then.